Hey, everybody, welcome to Rock and Roll Confessional.
Hey, what do you want to confess?
I want to confess that Monday, we were supposed to do this interview for a Wednesday release. And then Monday, I think it was Monday morning, we got the phone call or the email from our good friend Jody. And she's like, Brian's stuck in the snow. He can't do it. And we're like, because I'm really only giving myself 2 days to edit this thing and put it together. And that was kind of crazy. So instead, we rescheduled for Wednesday, which was yesterday, and for a one-day release. So now, hopefully, as soon as we're done with this, we will release this episode.
I'm Rita Wild.
I'm C.W. West.
You say that question with a question mark.
Well, every day I get older, because another day I could question who I am. Anyway, on with the show, Reeds.
Hey, this episode is with founding member and bassist for Tesla, Brian Wheat. Brian has a new book titled Son of a Milkman, My Crazy Life with Tesla. He's definitely had the rock and roll life, and he talks to us about it.
He tells us about wanting to be Paul McCartney, meeting and hanging with his longtime friend, Jimmy Page, and what it's like to be in a band that has a few problems, including drugs. And he also talks about his friendship with Joe Elliot and a little bit more.
So here we go. The interview with Brian Wheat of Tesla.
Welcome back from the snowstorm.
Yeah, I went to Texas to get out of the snow, and it went crazy, and I got more snow in Texas than I had when I was in New York.
Wow.
That's crazy. Are you moving out of your house in Texas?
No, I went there it's where we spend the winter.
To get away from the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go there to get away from the snow. I mean, they had more snow come down than I saw when I was in New York.
Should have stuck with Sacramento.
And I'm in Sacramento now.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
It's full circle. Well, Brian Wheat, thank you very much for joining our podcast, Rock and Roll Confessional. You've released a brand new book, Son of a Milkman, My Crazy Life with Tesla. And upon reading the book, I've got to say, man, you have lived quite the life.
Yeah. It's been all over the place.
I mean, what I loved is several different things. I love the fact that no matter what, you never gave up.
No, and that's not in my DNA. I mean, that's the whole underlying story of the book, is that I didn't give up. The band didn't give up. We've gone through hell and back, and we're still standing. And that's really the moral of the story.
But you had to take a lot of that into your own hands. I mean, in the later years, you were managing and almost producing and putting together the entire touring. But the early years, you were still kind of the guy that was the glue that was holding the band together, I think.
Yeah, that's what Tom Zutat used to call me. He used to call me the glue. He used to say, "You're the glue, dude." And, so be it. I guess I was that guy. Sometimes I got shit for it. Other guys in the band used to give me some grief about it. And so you'd go, what am I do? What do I, but look, me and Frank started the band. We were kids. The last thing I ever wanted was the band to fall apart.
Of course, it's your baby.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you have to look at when you're talking about a band is like, to me, it can be hard at times to be married and have one additional person in your world, but to have 4 or 5 plus managers and touring people, you have a lot of marriages there that you have to constantly keep balanced, which is really difficult because there's so many different inputs.
Yeah, there's everyone has a different personality and a different agenda, and it is tough. There's no doubt about it. It's I guess if I didn't make it, someone asked me the other day, what would you do if you weren't in rock and roll? I guess I could be a marriage counselor.
Well, you had a lot of counseling. It sounds like you're very honest in this book about a lot of things that you've gone through and so forth. A lot of things that you typically don't hear about in rock and roll books. And I commend you for that, because you touched on a lot of topics that are kind of sensitive and people don't want to talk about. But you kind of opened up that path to say, hey, all happened to me. I did it. I experienced it. You talk about the therapy. And I love the idea that you had the therapy session for the band later on.
Yeah, well, we were starting to get fucked up again in terms of we weren't able to communicate with one another again. And, that was right before we made Into the Now. And I just said, hey, do you guys think maybe we could go to, and I think I had seen Metallica already do it, but I was already seeing a therapist, and I know Tommy had seen a therapist at the time as well. The other three hadn't. I said, you think we could go as a group, and, maybe it'll help us. Last thing we want to do is bust this thing up again. And everyone agreed. And it was very, very helpful for us making Into the Now.
I love the fact that you were able to meet your musical hero. I just think that's such a fascinating story.
McCartney?
Yes.
Yeah. On the 8th day, God created Paul McCartney.
Yeah. But I mean, as a kid, that's what you had older brothers and siblings. So you got their records, which is why you got turned on to all the music that you did. But, just the fact that, you got that Hofner bass that you play.
Yeah. Well, the truth of it all is it was divine intervention, man. It was greater than you or I. That was meant to be. And God made it happen, because when you think about the chances of him being there the same day I'm there doing press, you know what I mean? It's just, it's pretty cosmic. And I like to think that God made it happen. And, Paul McCartney he was a really nice man. He didn't know me from Adam, and he was very kind. And when you meet your hero and you're not let down, it's great. So it was the whole thing was cosmic.
You always kind of followed Paul McCartney, and I think when you were very young, you wanted to be Paul McCartney. And
I still want to be Paul McCartney.
How's it going with that part?
He keeps beating me. He just had a #1 record the other day. He just.
And you got a Hofner bass in time. I'm wondering, like, when you first began, did you ever even try to play the bass backwards like him, or left-handed?
No. I was a right-handed guy. No, I never tried playing it left-handed. So that part I didn't.
There's still time if you're going to be him.
No, I think, I don't think I'm going to be able to be him. I'm pretty happy being Brian Wheat now.
I love also that in addition to McCartney, you became good friends with another hero. Whoever becomes friends with Jimmy Page? I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, Jimmy's my buddy. Me and Jimmy known each other since 1995. And we've developed into pretty good friends. And all I can tell you about him, and I kind of stay pretty private when it comes to him, because he's my friend. It wasn't just an acquaintance that I just saw one time or two times. Like Paul, he's actually a friend, and we do things together and speak on the phone and everything. All I can tell you about him is he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet in your life, and he's a true English gentleman. And he's the greatest rock guitar player ever. And sometimes I have to remind myself that he's Jimmy Page. Because to me, he's just Jimmy, it's my pal Jimmy. And then you go, well, but he is Jimmy Page from, Led Zeppelin. So he's great. We love Jimmy, me and my wife.
There's a great video up on YouTube, which we'll put on our website, but it's with you at the EMP Museum up in Seattle playing with Jimmy.
God.
Yeah, that's the night that I had to remember, oh, fuck. That's Jimmy Page. Because I was going there to do a tribute to my pal Jimmy,
right?
Who was Jimmy Page, but when he got on stage and he stood next to me and put on the Les Paul and turned around and looked at the drummer and said, "Okay," I went, "Oh shit, it's Jimmy Page."
Did you feel like you kind of shrunk a little bit, or the hairs on the back of your neck?
I started levitating. I started levitating off the ground. Yeah.
And he knew your music when you first met him. He kind of sought you out.
That was what was surprising. The very first time I met him through a friend of mine, Ross Halfon. So we went to this gig at the Hammersmithonian in London to see David Lee Roth play. And Jimmy came in and he walked backstage. We were all backstage and there's a bar back there. And I said, Ross said, "Hey, Jimmy, this is Brian. Brian, this is Jimmy." I said, "Oh, nice to meet you." And obviously everyone flocked around him as soon as he walked in the building. And after all that settled down a little bit, I said, "Hey, would you like something to drink?" And he said, "Yeah." So I went to the bar and got us both a drink. And when I came back and handed him his drink, he said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "I really like 5-Man Acoustic Jam." And I said, "Excuse me?" He said, 5-Man Acoustic Jam. I really like it. I said, "I didn't even think you knew who I was." "Well, of course I know who you are. You're Brian from Tesla. We're on the same label, man." Because he was on Geffen as well. And he said, "Yeah, I have that album." He said, "I love it. It's, you're the first band to ever do an all live acoustic album. And I think it's great." And I went, "Wow, thank you, man." And, you don't get much better praise than that.
No kidding. Do you ever just sit around and think about your life, like when you're writing this book and go, wow, pinch
I've
yourself.
done some pretty cool shit, you know?
Pinch yourself like, wow, this really is my life. It's like,
no. I've been very fortunate and blessed. And I've had, I'm a kid that had a dream and saw it come true, which just goes to show you, dreams can come true. But you got to work really hard and you got to be willing to sacrifice. None of it comes easy, and it never has and it never will. But I'm a firm believer that if you work hard enough at something and you truly want to do something, you can do it.
Reading your book, Son of a Milkman, which the basic story is you are a son of a milkman that you barely got to know.
Yeah, I was the illegitimate son of the milkman. And that used to be the old joke, right?
Right.
Back in the 60s, it was very, it was actually being illegitimate in the 60s. My poor mother, she got,
that was evil. Yeah.
Yeah, she got really, treated badly by her own family for it. And that's why I dedicate the book to my mom, because she was such a strong woman and had to endure what she had to endure with 6 children and no father after, the 5th kid. So all these teenage kids are just trying to trample over this 5-foot woman. And she stood her ground. She was a tough woman, my mom.
And you were always really supportive to her.
Yeah, we were extremely close. I guess you could call me a mama's boy, but that's all right. I don't mind it. She was great.
And people don't frown on that anymore either, so you're okay. When you guys first got signed to Geffen Records, it felt like you guys went in there sort of blind and relied a lot on the record company and a few other people to kind of guide you into their direction.
Well, I think that happens with every band. The Beatles were being guided by Brian Epstein, weren't they? Yeah. So everyone has someone that's mentoring them or trying to guide them in some fashion. But yeah, so we went in, and in the beginning we had this guy, Steve Klausman, that was guiding us, and he got us to Tom Zutaut, who signed us, and Tom got us to Peter and Cliff Bernstein and Peter Mitch. And, between Tom and Cliff and Peter, they, helped form what Tesla became.
Including the name.
Yeah. We would have never in 100 years came up 1,000 years with the name Tesla.
Or you'd be dog balls.
Yeah, we could have been dog balls because Chrissy Hines, It's funny, I was talking to Troy the other day. He said, "You're wrong in the book." I said, "What's that, Troy?" He said, "It wasn't you and Jeff in the studio with Chrissy. It was me and you." And I said, "No, it was me and Jeff." He said, "No, it was me and you. I was there. I know." And I went, "Well, see, Troy, I don't remember everything."
And you even put a little disclaimer in the book saying, "This is my story, and everything may not be exactly correct, but it's as I remember it."
I wasn't trying to write the definitive history of Tesla, the band.
All right, everybody, time for a quick break. We'll be back in a second. Our podcast relies solely on support from our listeners. We get no other money. And we'd like to pay our bills, so we're asking for your help. If you're a fan of rock music or rock stories, please become a Patreon rock star, roadie, or groupie. All it takes is a small pledge a month to help keep us going. That's right, as little as $1 a month. Please support us by going to Patreon, Patreon, and just search for us, or to our support tab on our website, rockandrollconfessional.rocks. All right, Reitz, it's time for some exciting trivia. Tesla trivia.
I don't know if it's exciting. Well, one of their biggest hits of Tesla's career so far is a song called Signs. Who did it originally? Huh?
That was a couple years ago, right?
More than a couple of decades ago.
I didn't want to make people feel old.
All right. The answer later.
All right.
Now let's get ready for the second half of our interview with Brian Wheat of Tesla. One of the bands that you worked with hit the big time on your first tour, but then they hit the super duper superstardom on your first tour, and that was Def Leppard. You guys have still remained good friends with several of the guys.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Elliot wrote the foreword to the book. Phil Collin produced our last album. They're like our big brothers. You know, they've always been kind of guys we looked up to, mentors, big brothers, and especially me and Joe. We've stayed, you know, kind of unsaid close all these years. Sometimes we won't speak for a year, and then we'll speak every month. And he's always that guy that I'll call and say, hey, you know, look, I got this going on in the band, or this, or, you know, what advice you got for me? You know, he's that guy for me.
But you also bond over McCartney stuff too, and Beatles stuff, right?
Yeah, well, he's got good taste, that Joe Elliot guy.
Well, he's going to be proud to see you when you turn into McCartney.
Yeah, then he'll probably play with me. You know, I've always told him we should put a band together, and he went, yeah. And then I gave him a bass one time for his birthday, one of my Thunderbirds.
Nice.
And I said, hey, man, you know, you play with all these other guys. How come we and you never play together? He's like, yeah, you know, we got to do it one day. So maybe if I turn into Paul, I know he'll play with me then.
You hope. I love, like when you were just, you know, not quite a teenager yet, but you had aspirations of one day maybe playing baseball. You were pretty good at it.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
But then broken leg, and then
No, I was better after I broke my leg.
Is that right?
Yeah, I came back. I mean, you know, that's the whole thing. When I was 12 and I was set to be like this all-star player, I had this unfortunate accident where I broke my leg in half. That kind of, you know, the doctors were like, well, you'll never run the same anymore. So I missed the season when I was 12, and by 14, I was getting really good again. And by 15, I was the best guy in the league. So again, it's that thing of, you know, curveballs coming at you, or obstacles, if you will. And I haven't even thought about the baseball thing and the one, you know, thing that happened in the middle of it until you just brought it up. So, but it's there in the book. Yeah. You know, unfortunately or fortunately, you know, for me, probably fortunately, you know, the rock and roll bug kicked in by the time I was 18. And at that point, it was like, you know, either you try to get a scholarship and go to baseball, you know, college and play baseball, or you try to become a rock and roll guy. And I dropped the ball and picked up the bass, and the rest was history. And then, funny enough, when I turned 30, I went back and started playing baseball again.
Oh, cool.
In men's leagues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the summertime, because we had a few, you know, if we had a couple of months off or something, by that time I could go play some baseball. So I was playing with, you know, 20-year-old kids. And here I am, this 30-year-old man. And, you know, they're calling me Billy Ray Cyrus and shit. I'd get up to bat and they're hitting me with the ball. And then, you know, I'd blast a two-run double or something. And then they got, you know, to respect me. And I played, I think, from the time I was 30 till I was about 50.
Wow.
And now the feet and knees are tore up. So I just can't really play anymore.
No more stage diving either.
Oh, no. You know, I used to jump off those amps and stuff and literally get up on, you know, these risers and jump, you know, thinking I was indestructible and shit. And Now I just kind of glide across the stage. I don't really jump.
Joining the two things together, the baseball and rock and roll, I think people grow up with this notion that, if you're a rock star, you just work for an hour or two a day. Baseball players, you only work about, 3 or 4 hours a day. What a gig, what a life. But they don't realize all that goes into it, the daily, the practicing, everything.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends that, were professional baseball players. And I think the thing that people don't realize is really they don't see home for 9 months.
Yeah.
My friend Dave Steve, he was from California. He pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays. He was an all-star pitcher. And he would go to Florida in spring training in January, and he wouldn't get back home again till October back in California. So he really only spent 2 months a year at home. The rest of the time he was either on the road with the Toronto Blue Jays or living in Toronto playing the games he played in Toronto. When you look at baseball players that are married a long time, you got to really commend them because that's a hard lifestyle. Just like guys in rock bands, they're not home very often. They're on the road a lot. I mean, I'm on the road still, and I'm 58. And, before this COVID thing, I'd go out for a month and come home for a month and go out for a month and go home for a month. It's hard on a marriage unless you got a really cool wife, which I do. And the guys in Tesla do. And it's that thing that I'm talking about where there's a lot of sacrifices made that people don't realize. It's not just all glamour, and it's not glamorous at all. It's not like everyone's living like Lady Gaga. That's not reality.
And you guys had a lot of drugs and alcohol that started to play, weaving in and out of all those years.
We did?
According to your story. Not according to Frank or Jeff.
I said that.
There was a little mention of it.
Of course we did. Everyone does. Look, when you're a young kid, you take drugs either from peer pressure or curiosity or whatever the case may be, right?
Yep.
Every kid does. I don't care, 90% of the kids out there, that's what we do. And then you like it and you go, oh, this is fun. And then it's just like discovering sex. You go, oh, this is fun. And then you want more.
Exactly.
Right. And well, that's what happened. So
it's the more part.
We've got, drugs and alcohol and sex and rock and roll. And that's what happens to rock bands. So, I think the funny thing is that, we were never no choir boys. Okay. And people go, oh, well, we never knew. It's because we didn't have a lot of press, because Tesla's not the kind of band that had an image. We were only on one cover of one magazine our whole career.
God, that's crazy.
Right. When we sold, our managers used to say we'd sell 1.5 million records quietly. And, we had 5 straight platinum albums in a row from Mechanical Resonance through, whatever it was. And we only had one magazine cover. So a lot of the things that we were into or we did were never really talked about because we didn't get the press. But we were certainly not choir boys. And I mean, look, there was sex, drugs, alcohol, fist fights, you name it, car wrecks, everything. It was all there. It just wasn't publicized.
Rock and roll.
Well, yeah. The music business or, again, there's such a parallel world, in baseball or baseball.
Yep.
I had friend Scott Spezio that.
Oh, yes.
He was a famous guy. MVP.
Game 6.
Drugs.
Yep.
Yeah, killed his career. Told me that when he was on cocaine that the ball was so slow he could hit it out of the park because it slowed down the ball for him. So, I mean, just everyone falls prey to it. And it's just, I just happen to tell, our story and, but yeah, we weren't choir boys.
You came through it okay, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Look, look, today I don't drink and I don't take drugs anymore.
Congratulations.
It's been quite some time. You grow up. That's what I'm saying. You go through this and hopefully you grow up and you come out the other side of it.
It worked out okay for you.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, we only got a few more minutes left, but at the end of the show, we do what's called the bonus round. We're just going to throw you some quick questions at you that might not have been in your book, so it might be a little confusing, but here we go.
I'm ready, man.
Who would you want to meet that you've never met?
I can't say.
Sure you can. It can be a porn star.
No, it's not a porn star. I just can't say.
You can say your second runner-up.
Okay, I'll say my second guy.
Okay.
Most of them are dead.
Well, that's okay. There's really no
dead,
rules in this
it's
game.
Easy. It's Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Beautiful.
What was the first album that you got? Your own?
Let It Be.
Let It Be. In the book, you said, I think, Revolver, right? Or that's the first album that you really
listened to.
Yeah, listened to. But Let It Be.
Let It Be was the first album I'd ever bought.
What was your favorite concert you either attended or played at?
Paul McCartney.
Which one?
Geez, man, I've seen him so many times. Hamburg, because I got his personal seats.
Oh, wow.
I was in the front row right in front of him. I knew his the girl that looked after his wardrobe. And as a surprise, she gave me his seats because he wasn't using them that night. And I got them. And I'm sitting in front of him and he's looking at me like, who the fuck's in my seats?
Oh, you'll know later.
That's awesome. What would you say to your 19-year-old self now that you're 58, looking back?
I would say, have patience, grasshopper.
What is your coolest piece of memorabilia?
My coolest piece of memorabilia. A 1937 Chaparral statue.
You have a whole collection of those, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, besides being a manager, a bass player, a rock band, photographer, all these different things. I love that you spread it out. You encompass everything that you love to do. First concert you ever went to?
The Tubes, White Punks on Dope.
Yeah.
The chicks were half naked, and I thought every concert was going to be that way.
Sorry to let you down. They were above their time.
Never seen naked people at a Tesla show now, have I?
No, but I mean, the Tubes back then, they had these topless girls with tassels.
Styles.
I was 12 years old. I went, wow, what an experience, man. I got to do this.
I had the same experience. They're one of my favorite bands.
Right. So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We only had more time.
That first album was just absolutely amazing.
Okay, what else you got for me? Come on. I like this round.
Your favorite Spinal Tap moment?
Oh, man, I don't know. Craziest thing that ever happened. Probably being stuck on a bus in Europe with no air conditioning for 2 days.
Ooh, summertime.
Ooh.
Yeah, on a tour. And that was recently.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was pretty Spinal Tap.
What band do you regret never seeing live?
Queen.
Yeah, cool. Well, continue to stay safe through this pandemic. I hope that we have some live rock and roll real soon. We're saying maybe autumn. We'll see. But in the meantime, I know you got a lot of things going on and always working on music. And I have to say one thing in your book, it was really nice to see. You mentioned somebody that I went to college with, and that was Pat Martin. Pat Martin and I were started radio broadcasting at the same time. And
well, he's responsible for getting us back together.
That's what I was reading. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's a real good friend of mine.
I love Pat. He's a great guy.
Great guy.
Excellent. Well, you're a great guy too. Continue to take care of your health and, stay safe.
All right. You guys take care.
Thanks, you, Brian.
Bye now.
Okay.
Bye-bye. He's a nice guy.
He was a really nice guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. I wanted to talk to him more about the Tubes because, I don't know, Tubes rock. But Tesla rocks too. I don't want to take anything away from them. So
yeah, absolutely. And good book. Enjoyed it. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened to this guy. Oh my God, I can't believe. Oh my God.
He had a few incidences, and it is a good book. It's a quick read. It's not long, and you can get an autographed copy, which we'll tell you about in a second. So
All right. Special thanks to Brian, who zoomed in, who found a way to connect with us from Sacramento, the band's original hometown. Also, a special thank you to Jody Glissman-Best, who coordinated the interview. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you so much, Jody. Appreciate it. Brian's new book, Son of a Milkman, My Crazy Life with Tesla, can be found wherever you get your books, or go to teslatheband.com to order an autographed copy. Follow Brian and the band on Instagram at Brian Wheat, W-H-E-A-T, not too hard, or Tesla the Band, or on Facebook at Brian Wheat Tesla. That's all one long word, I guess.
CW has done an amazing job with the website, created it from nothing, and always puts fun stuff on it. You can go to our website to check out our show notes. There you can find interesting notes on subjects that were talked about in today's show, including videos like the one of him playing with Jimmy Page, and also a link to order Brian's book. Find the show notes at rockandrollconfessional.rocks.
And we always welcome new listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Wherever you are, wherever you listen to the show, we ask, please, big favor, please rate us, subscribe, and write a quick review on whatever platform you're listening to. All right, Reitz, give us the question again.
One of the biggest hits of Tesla's career so far is a song called Signs. Who did it originally? Do you know?
I do know, but honestly, it's kind of a long name, and I forget the exactness of the name, so go for it.
It's 5-man electrical band. They're a Canadian band, and originally from Ottawa. And song came out in 1970, hit number 3, I think. Number three on the charts in 1971.
And then Tesla did their...
a 5-man acoustical jam.
Yeah.
I think it was called.
And it became another big old hit.
Yeah, big old hit. But of their own original stuff, probably Love Song.
That was a great song.
Yeah, that was.
Nice little ballad
good
ditty.
Stuff.
So please follow us, like us, share us on Facebook and on Instagram. We're very easy to find. Just put in Rock and Roll Confessional and keep rocking. Have a beautiful 2021 as it is now here. And you'll be hearing from us soon. We got some great stuff right around the corner.
Yes, we do. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Wear your mask, please.
And wear a condom. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.